Let me just start off by saying this. I am not a big fan of the Dark Souls combat, and here's why. Back in 2011, I gave the original Dark Souls a try and I did not like it one bit. This was back in my teenage years, so really the only thing that I enjoyed was fast-paced shooters. Yeah, I'm that basic COD boy. Dark Souls was the fastest refund in my life. I never saw the appeal of slow-paced, hit-and-roll combat that it offered. Then recently I tried Sekiro and that shit changed my life. It was fun, fluid, fast-paced, precise, and I didn't feel like I was controlling an elephant. Once I've beaten Sekiro, I craved for more, so I opted for Jedi Fallen Order. Played it, finished it. It was kinda like that Rebound you played but was never looking for anything serious, and at the end of the day you just said, well, that was just okay. So I gave Dark Souls another try, this time with an open mind. And I noped the hell out of there again. There's just something about the sluggish nature of its combat that really bothers me. Maybe I'll try it again someday, who knows. But that's enough story time. You wanna know whether Lords of the Fallen is worth dusting off the backlog, so let's begin with another episode of Backlog Review. Alright, so Lords of the Fallen. I've only heard of this once or twice when it was first released and I always thought it looked cool. Decided to pull the trigger because it was only $3 for the Game of the Year edition. I didn't know a thing about it, looked at the screenshot and I thought, wow, it looks like another ARPG. So imagine my surprise, 5 minutes into it only to realize it's a Souls-like game. I was in disbelief. Did a quick Google search only to realize that it's a poor man's Dark Souls. So I said, alright, if the universe wants it to happen, it shall. Maybe I'm supposed to warm up to Dark Souls with Lords of the Fallen. So I played it, and it's one of those games where I'm glad I didn't put down death after death. There are definitely some cheesy and frustrating aspects to this, which I'll get to it in a bit, but I want to start off with all the good things Lords of the Fallen does. Number 1, the sound design. Rarely, and I mean rarely, do I really care about sound design in video games. I mean, it's cool that it's there, but I've never really been impacted by it. But hearing the growls of these bosses gives me the chills, like real chills. And speaking of bosses, the design for them are really unique and I really dig their aesthetics. Not so with the last one, but every boss leading up to it is really well designed in terms of looks, and I only wish I could get their armor instead of absorbing whatever it is that I absorb when they die. Another thing that looks good are the graphics. For a game that is almost 10 years old today, it looks really good, and extra bonus points for scaling to ultra wide with no problems. Now, the world does look good, but the same cannot be said about the NPC's face. Just look at it.
I need to decipher this.
After 13 hours, I've finally beaten the game and I'm not too sure where I sit with the combat. It's not bad and it's not good either. I guess I'll just have to cop out and sit on the fence on this one. Much like what I felt in Dark Souls, the combat is just too sluggish for me. The combat is addicting, but it's also frustrating as hell. Early on, the game introduces you to 3 magic classes: Brawling, Deception, and Solace. Now, depending on how you play them, you'll get very different results. I went with Warrior, just pumping those strengths and vitality under Brawling, and I have to say that the magic really breaks the game in some ways. One of my skills under Brawling was Rage, where upon activation gives me a little bit of damage and unlimited stamina for 12 seconds. It's great for getting out of sticky situations, but it also gave a stupid amount of damage stack against bosses. So, damage stack is every time you follow up an attack with another one, your damage doubles. The game pushes you to do combos, but at best, without Rage, you only get to attack twice before the enemy goes into defense. But how do you know they're in defense? Well, you don't. So here's problem number 1, and it's the biggest one for me: the animation. Now, I'm no expert in animation, but holy shit, this has to be a crime. Let's start with the player's animation. Any other weapon besides the dagger takes forever to swing. There has to be about a second of charge before you actually get to hit, and by then, the enemies are probably already out of your attack radius or their guards are already up. You also can't roll and follow up with an attack because that takes too long, and by the time your attack lands, guess what? Their shields are already up. Again, how do you know that? You don't. Enemies with shields are super unfair because their shields are always up even when they are vulnerable, and getting a hit on them is like gambling. It's frustrating as hell not knowing when you can strike. If you think the frustration ends there, no. It gets worse. The bosses in this game are frustratingly cheesy. Just when you thought you have figured out all of their moves and they're about one hit away, they do a new move you've never seen before, and some of them literally stuns you and take out most of your HP. If this isn't bullshit, I don't know what is. Couple the cheesiness with all the bad, unfair animation, what you'll get is a really small attack window that just feels cheap. The bosses are, well, difficult in a way, but the more you die to them, the more frustrating it is than difficult. Problem number 3, the dog shit camera. I am almost certain that the second hardest enemy type to fight in this game is the camera. Fighting in the many tight corridor this game has is just frustrating as the cheesy boss fights. I cannot recall how many times I got stuck between barrels where all I want to do is just roll back. The lock-on feature is equally bad, especially with really big bosses that fly around or move a lot. Problem number 4. Well, this is a small one, but I thought I would address it as well. I mentioned how great the sound design was, but the sound effects could be better. Alright, before I play this sound, just imagine an old movie. Imagine someone opening a steel door. What sound pops up in your head? If this is the one, then you're right. This is either really cheap or really lazy. And this doesn't just happen once. You'll open many doors in this game, and nothing pulls me out of the immersion like stock audio. And some of the other sound effects in this game are pretty bad too, like listen to the one right here. Alright, so 3 more problems, but I think I'll just mash it into one and call it a day. So, number 5. The overall world, or the castle, should I say. Now, I know I've used the word frustrating a lot of times, but I'm gonna use it again. The map is so frustrating to travel, especially given how many side quests requires you to backtrack. The way the entire map connects just feels so awkward. One moment I'm in this prison and this small door leads me to this underground, and this small door in the underground leads me to the citadel, and then I'm supposed to go to this chamber of lies, and to get there I need to go through the temple which connects to the monastery. I don't know, maybe I'm just bad with directions, but it's because everything looks the same. There's nothing distinctive about any of the areas. No landmark, no different design to differentiate itself between each area. It also doesn't help that some of these areas have 2 or 3 floors. Since I'm talking about the world, let me just slightly mention about the various NPCs you'll encounter. None of them are memorable, and their voice acting, bad. Even the main character sounds boring as hell.
Yedka, let me guess, you have business here.
Now, I haven't talked about the main character, but you play as Harken, who's supposed to be a convict, but the game doesn't tell you what crimes he's committed, and why and how the hell he ended up here is beyond us. The story is, honestly, I don't even know. I'll just give this one a pass. Right, I promise, this is the last problem I have with the game, and that is artificial difficulty, especially towards the end of the game. There's just so much bullshit to prevent you from doing your objective. You can tell that the game is super short, but then decides to artificially lengthen it by throwing logic out the window. Take this man for example.
You ran away. That's what cowards do.
There were too many, and we had to save ourselves.
When you first met them, they were weak, afraid, and are constantly talking to each other about how scary you are and how much they needed your help. But once you eventually face them, they are the toughest f***ers you'll face with their shitty long and seemingly unlimited HP. And then there are the biggest bullshitters in the game, the ghost type. Spoiler alert, if you see them, just run. You do so little physical damage to them that you're required to use magic. But if you play anything other than magic, you're stuck with the low damage gauntlet. Seriously, f*** them. So that about wraps things up. At the end of the day, Lords of the Fallen is a game I'm glad I didn't just give up. Now I can look back and say, hey, that's how much bullshit I can handle? Sure. Alright. So lots of the Fallen. Decent game, but if you're looking to fill that Dark Souls void and you don't own a PS4 or PS5 for Bloodborne, I mean, it's $3, you're really just paying with your sanity here. All in all, decent fun for $3, done and dusted, never touching it again. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like, it will really help a small channel out like mine. Currently at 32 subs, so let's make it to 50 by the end of 2021. And you can also support me by buying me a boba with the link in the description below. So yeah, see you next time, hopefully not in a frustrating game.